We're going to be talking about an event that's coming up. It's Fury 49 taking place in San Antonio, Texas. It's going to be August 29th. That's a Sunday on UFC Fightpass. You can also get some tickets. It's at Cowboys Dance Hall, which I'm really excited about the name of that, and I wish I was in San Antonio for that date. We'll kick this on the FM. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I have a guest in studio, and we're going to be talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, this Fury event that's coming up in San Antonio on the 29th. I'm going to let my guest introduce himself, and then we're going to find out all about him.
Hi, guys. This is Felipe Rocha, training out of ACS Mixed Martial Arts and Ed Ramos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So ACS is, and I tell people this because I've talked to Richard and some other people with Fury, and I've talked to Drew with Tychek, and I've been over to the gym. It's literally like if I was really a little bit stronger than I am, I could take a rock and probably throw it and hit the building. It's super close.
Oh, yeah. It's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner, yeah. So let's get into your story. Where are you living right now, and how'd you end up training down here at ACS?
So right now, I live in Cloverleaf, right? It's like about 45 minutes from here. And I met Drew at a Submission Hunter Pro that I did a couple months back, when I fought for the title. And ever since then, we just kind of kept in touch. And I remember I attended a Fury event, and I seen some of his guys fighting. And, man, I loved the style of every guy, There's very grappling heavy, and me coming from a grappling background, I could really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So it was something that it just kind of made sense for me. I've gotten a chance to train with lots of good people, learned from a lot of good guys, and in the beginning of my mixed martial arts career so far. And whenever I decided to come down to ACS, I remember after my first class with Drew, we just clicked. Like the way he coached me, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I get it. So like a lot of things that I was having questions about, it all just kind of made sense with Drew, and here I am.
Yes. So how long have you been training over there with Drew at ACS?
I want to say like about 3 months.
3 months, but you've been training, jiu-jitsu and combat sports for how long?
Oh man, I started with capoeira when I was a little kid, back when I lived in Brazil. I did that for like about 2 years, and I've always been a fan of martial arts, even though I took a break for many years in between that. I eventually got back with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I was about 17, and that was 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you were already in the States, moved from Brazil, which, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's where it comes from. So, yeah. I mean, did you have any interest in it or any introduction to it whenever you were still in Brazil?
No, actually, I didn't really come to know what jiu-jitsu was, Brazilian jiu-jitsu was, until I was in the States. Because back where I'm from, I remember judo was very popular, because judo, it's a sport that could eventually lead you to the Olympics, and people could actually make somewhat of a decent living off of it, through sponsors and all that. And at that moment, jiu-jitsu, it was starting to become popular due to the fact that, with Pride and all that going on in Japan, but it wasn't as big as it is now. So it was after I moved to the States when the UFC really started blowing up. That's when I kind of, figured out what jiu-jitsu was and eventually made my way to it.
Okay, so you're in New York. You get introduced to jiu-jitsu. Was that on purpose, or were you trying to get into MMA, striking?
So I wanted to get into MMA, mainly because of my mom. My mom she is a huge MMA fan, huge. So then I was kind of looking for something new to do, and I was like, you know what, that mixed martial arts stuff looks pretty cool. Like, I want to try that out. So then I was looking at Muay Thai gym, and I had found their address online, but apparently they had moved and never updated their location. So then as I'm walking around town looking for the gym, can't find it, see a sign for Gracie Baja gym. And I'm like, oh, man, I know the Gracie name. I was like, let me go in and check it out. So then I walk inside, and I look at the guy working the receptionist desk. His name was Will. I'll never forget his name. Huge guy. And I'm like, hey, I want to sign up. And he's like, oh, okay, we offer a free week trial. I'm like, no, just sign me up. He's like, no, you should really. I was like, dude, sign me up. Okay. Signs me up. And come take my first class, find out there's no striking. It was just strictly grappling. I had no idea. So I'm like, oh, man, I signed up, so now I got to stick with it, you know?
Yeah.
And they partnered me up with this guy whose name I'll never forget. His name was Walter. He was a small, older guy. Man, I want to say at most he was like about 130 pounds. And then they partnered me up with him, and then he goes, here, Walter will take care of you. So then we'll start sparring. Chokes me unconscious. I wake up, and then right after that, I was just like, you know what? I got to get good at this. I can't have, like, guys in their mid-50s who, like, weigh half of what I weigh choking me unconscious here. Like, I can't have that.
Yeah, so you were 17, about 17 at the time?
17 years old.
And you're a pretty big guy. How big are you right now, and how big were you at 17?
Well, at 17, I was actually walking around, like, about 160.
Yeah.
You know, because I wasn't extremely active then. But now I walk around, like, anywhere between, like, 210, 215, you know, depending. If I have any fights or anything coming up, you know, I tend to lose weight. Because after I started training, I started lifting a lot of weights, and I kind of just grew into my body.
Yeah, and what are you going to fight at?
So for this fight, I'm going to fight at 205.
At 205?
You know, yeah, we were looking to get a fight at 185, but we weren't able to get any fights at that weight. So then I said, you know, hey, let's move up. And then, you know, thankfully Eric was able to get me a match at 205.
Okay, so 17 years old, you get introduced by Will and Walter, get choked out unconscious by
by Walter.
Yeah, by Walter.
If you're hearing this, I'm coming, Walter.
You're in New York City at the time. Do you just continue on that path to train and compete? How did that go?
Yeah, so the Gracie Baja gym that I was training at, they eventually split, and, you know, the head instructor at the time opened up his own gym, and the Gracie Baja that I was at, eventually they closed down, and I stuck with my first instructor for a while. His name is Marvin Lee. You know, right now he owns a gym in Long Island, New York. And so I was training with Marvin for a while, and I wanted to get, you know, real competitive with jiu-jitsu. I was really enjoying it. So then I eventually started training in Manhattan at Marcelo Garcia's Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And I stayed there for, I want to say, like about 6 years. And that was like when I first got introduced to like high level training, you know? And at first, man, it sucked. Oh my God, it was awful. You know, I was getting beat up every day and really, really bad. And because I just wasn't used to that intensity and, you know, training being that hard. And then after a while, I've always been a fan of this guy. His name is Murilo Santana, right? Like, there's horror stories that go around, like, the jiu-jitsu community about him, about how, like, amazing he is. And when I finally had the chance to train with him, I took it, you know? I went in, me and him, we became really good friends. And I've been real lucky to have him as a mentor, you know? And so I started training at Unity Jiu-Jitsu after a while, and I got my black belt under him and Ed Ramos. And I honestly, I couldn't ask to have, like, better people in my corner.
Where have you had the opportunity to compete, and what have you achieved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, I've gotten a chance to, I've medaled at Worlds, both gi and no gi. I'm a no gi Pan Am champion. Medaled gi Pan Ams. I've won opens at multiple states, like New York, Boston, Texas, Washington. Like, I've traveled so much. It's insane. I've gotten a chance to compete in Europe as well. I wanted to compete in Brazil, but last year I had a bunch of trips planned out.
Yeah.
To Japan, Brazil, and all. But then, you know, COVID hit, and that kind of threw everything off the tracks a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then throughout that time when everything was, like, shut down, I was like, oh, man, you know what? I kind of want to try something new. So then eventually I found my way into mixed martial arts.
So MMA.
Yeah.
So at what point did you end up in that Houston area?
Last year. So right before COVID hit, I moved down here, and it was tough because before I moved here, I was like, you know what? I didn't save any money, nothing, because I was like, I already got a job down there, so I'm gonna hit the ground running, And I get here, $20 to my name, everything shuts down. And I remember sitting in my bed, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
What did you do?
I figured something out.
Make it work one day to the next, I guess.
Yeah, I just took it a day at a time, and I've been real lucky to have really good people around me. I've had like really good friends who helped me out a lot. Because shoot, man, $20 nowadays, $20 is what? It's lunch.
Yeah, get a meal.
You get a meal, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's all I had at the moment.
Yeah. So this year, I think even at the end of last year, Fury was able to start putting on events again. Texas was open to combat sports opening up, and then Submission Hunter started going, and there's some other promotions. Obviously, the UFC's going as well. What is the goal for you? So this is going to be your debut, Fury 49. You've been training at ACS for 2 to 3 months. What is the goal for you?
UFC champion.
UFC.
So we're gonna win every title possible at Fury, and then eventually, UFC, win title there too. Whenever I dedicate myself to something, just like how I did with jiu-jitsu, I like to see it through to the end, And even, like, you gotta face reality. There's always a possibility that certain things may not happen. So even if it does happen that I don't become champion, right? I'm going to give it my all, because I never like to look back at anything and be like, but what if I did this? What if I did that? No, I'm all the way.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier that your mom's a huge MMA fan, has been and still is.
Mm-hmm.
How does she feel about all this?
She loves it.
Yeah.
Man, she's my biggest fan. I have videos of her whenever she watched, when I competed Submission Hunter Pro, right? When I fought Jason for the title, and it was streamed live online, and my dad was recording a video of her. She's like sitting bedside, and then she's like, her whole body is shaking. The match went for like about 15 minutes, and then within like the last 10 seconds, I want to say like 10 seconds in the match, I was able to get a submission to win the title. And just watching the joy like in her face, her jumping around, screaming, it was good.
How's it been? I guess working with those guys that are at ACS. I think it's Mikey. He has a fight on that card as well. How's it been working with those guys?
It's been great. I've gotten a chance to spar a lot with Nico, who's one of the main coaches over there at ACS. Because I can only come here during the daytime because I coach at Ed's Gym at night. Mm-hmm. And during the day, every now and then, Mikey will pop in, and some of the other guys as well. Alvaro will come in here and there, but I think he's injured right now. And so I'm mostly training with Nico. So then, I come in, and then Drew's like, here's this pro fighter with a great record. And
yeah.
I know you don't have a track experience, but here you go.
Kind of thrown to the wolf, huh?
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's been great, though. I can't complain, man. Like I said before, I'm surrounded by great people, so I'm happy with that.
The guy that you're fighting, do you know anything about him? Are you doing any research? Do you know anything at all?
My coaches are doing some research on him. Right now, I'm just training.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping the tools sharp. I know what my game plan is.
I could guess what your game plan is, by the way, but keep going. And okay, that's what I would do. And I'm sure your opponent, he's probably like Googles your name, and be like, oh, okay, this is what we got. That's probably his game plan. But what could you share any of your game plan?
Even if you know my game plan, I mean, I'm okay with people. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt.
Yeah.
I've been grappling my entire life, but can you stop me though?
Right.
Because sure, you could know what my game plan is, but can you stop that game plan? Because even in jiu-jitsu, I was always very well known for two things, right? It's always like my close guard and my top pressure. Sure, everyone knew what to expect from me, but can you stop that?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not really too worried about anyone knowing what the game plan is, because because now when you're caught up thinking about me, you kind of lose track of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because now I'm in your head. You're thinking about, you're like, oh my God, he's doing this. Oh no, I can't let him get that. And then once I get something that I wasn't supposed to get, you're like, oh no, my plan is going south. And then you start freaking out. So, you know, I don't care who knows, you know.
Yeah. So in the training over there with Drew and Nico and those guys, how's your striking coming along? You feeling pretty comfortable with it?
Oh yeah, you know, the striking is coming along very well. We'll have like I said before, Drew is a great coach. You know, I also had a chance to work with Crew Bob for a little bit before this. You know, he's also another excellent coach. And like I said, it just so happened that Drew and I, man, I don't know, it was just something there, like we just click, you know. And it's been great.
Yeah, Drew, he's a really nice guy. He's a big guy, and I remember like I know how to say his last name, and there's a lot of
Radicek?
People are like Radicek, but he's like, it's Ratajczak, and I'm like, yes, Drew Ratajczak. But the way it's spelled, there's a lot of confusion out there, but I love him, and he's in Lamarck. So if you're listening to this and you haven't had a chance to go check out ACS, go check him out. It's literally a rock skip away. There's an Amazon building, and then there's ACS MMA right there off of Interstate 45. This is exit 13 right here. So, I mean, I'm glad that we got you in studio. I reached out after I got your number from Richard at Fury. So was that easy for you to kind of make that transition? They already know who you are with Submission Hunter and just your record, you know, and all in grappling. For you to make that switch, was that an easy thing?
It was. Actually, Eric he helped that transition a lot because he kind of put the bug in my head, you know. I was having a hard time getting matches with jiu-jitsu. Not many people wanted to fight me here in Texas. And then after when I did my black belt debut, it was actually at Submission Hunter Pro. As soon as the match was done, I remember going to Eric because the match went to a draw. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, you know, you see how the match went? I came to fight. You know, I was pushing the pace from beginning to end. But it's hard to get a fight going when only one person shows up to fight. You know? And he just looked at me, shook his head. He's like, hey, next time I see you, I'm going to see you in MMA, huh? And then that really like sat in the back of my head, and I was just like, you know what? Why not? Why not? Let's do it. You know?
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's going to be in San Antonio, Fury 49. That's on a Sunday. And the really cool deal that they made, in my opinion, is like that UFC Fightpass. I immediately subscribed because on Sundays it's a busy day for me, so I can't really make it out. But they have that on UFC Fightpass, and you can just subscribe, and I'm over here watching like every time they put something on.
Yeah. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, and so then like your family and everybody else, you know, in New York or wherever, be able to tune in and cheer you on as well.
And anybody worldwide, make sure you sign up for UFC Fightpass.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Watch my debut.
Yeah, check it out. So, man, that's going to be August 29th. It's a Sunday. UFC Fightpass. We got Felipe Rocha in studio. If you want to follow him on social media, it's at Felipe Rocha BJJ on Instagram. Are you gonna have to change that?
Probably. Probably change it soon. But but it's gonna stay like that for a while.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share this morning while you're on KHEA?
One say I just want to thank everyone that's been helping me. I want to thank my team back in New York, Unity Jiu-Jitsu. I want to thank my coach, Marilla Santana. I want to thank my coach here in Texas for Jiu-Jitsu as well, Ed Ramos, Drew, Nico, the entire ACS team. I want to thank my girlfriend, Claudia. She's been very supportive of everything. And she makes things a lot easier for me. And all just my friends and everyone here.
Well, thank you for making some time. And I'm going to need you to come back after at some point.
I will.
And I request that you drag Drew in here.
Oh,
I'd love to get Drew in studio and both of y'all.
Drew's got some stories.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
Great stories.
But thanks for hanging out today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.